To open up the panelists here this evening, I would like to ask each and every one of you, what was the moment you realized that your work was more than professional? It was personal and transformational. Michelle, Lee, Gracie, it is open to all of you. Would you like me to repeat the question? Do you need to phone a friend?
I mean, I'll start.
Please.
I will say that I have been in the business for almost 53 years now. And I learned early on that in the world of public relations and marketing, you can make a difference, not only in the commercial side of it, but also in the public service side as well. And I will say that, you know, what I do now with Clear Channel, I joke and say I'm like a philanthropist, but I don't have any money to be a philanthropist. So I'm able to help organizations and that will help move the needle for the community and really make a difference for all of us as we move forward in what we do. So it's become a passion for me.
Thank you, Lee. Would anybody else like to add on to that question? The question is, what was the moment or when was the moment you realized that your work was more than professional? It was personal and transformational.
So,
Go ahead.
for me, I think I realized that before I started the association. In 2013 is when I had the initial idea for, I'll say, a group of Black marketers. I didn't have the name, but I realized as a marketer, we identify gaps in the market. So I realized the need was in 2013, but I was like, I'm too green, I'm too young. I just left corporate. I was starting my marketing consulting. I just got my master's degree. I'm focused on my business. But fast forward to the fall of 2018, I realized there's something I need to do. So I went in with that intention and that purpose and that drive to create the African American Marketing Association.
I love that. Gracie?
Hello, hello. Okay, yeah. I would say 5 years into having successful bonbon nights here in Houston. I think 5 years in, when we started to see people coming to our events month after month, and it wasn't just the number of people; it was who was there. And I think that for us, like making a safe space for not just nationalities, but also sexual preferences, you name it. Like it was an open space to come and celebrate. And for us, I think that that's when we realized it was more than just a job. It was definitely culturally impactful.
Thank you. And can you explain to me a little bit more and to everyone here, what exactly is Bonbon?
So Bonbon is a cumbia collective that we started 15 years ago. And if you have seen some of the advertising that Ingrid was talking about, you might hear about me talking about how we democratized the dance floor about 15, 20 years ago when you said a Latin night. That really meant a salsa night. And by default, there was a cover, there was a dress code, so it was very exclusive. And so what we did is we created the antithesis of that. No cover, it was just open for all. It was more about cumbia and something a little more like folk music, but a little more modern, more made for like today's dance floor.
Okay, that sounds like a lot of fun. Mary, please.
I realized this when I was approximately 12, 13 years of age. A little bit of my backstory is that I'm from Harlem, New York, and I've been dancing since I was 3. But my parents moved to Long Island when I was 12, and we moved into a neighborhood that was somewhat questionable. So my mom suggested that I teach these children dance to keep them out of trouble. And so we did that. As a result, they went to Carnegie Hall, they performed at Radio City, went backstage, um, Lincoln Center. It was phenomenal what happened. And a couple of years later, my mom said to me, I want to tell you something. On the other side of your obedience, there are thousands and thousands of children that are waiting for you to teach them dance and to keep them out of trouble. And so here I am, many years later, still following what my mom said, teaching them dance and keeping them out of trouble. And I just love it. And thank you, AAF, for this opportunity tonight, for Imagine. Thank you, Ingrid, all the staff, and everyone here. Thank you, audience, for being here. I'm honored to be here, and thank you so very much.
Yes. Thank you, Mary.
Check.
Marlon, please add on to this.
I think for me, it starts with a great quote that says that we become the adults we needed when we were young. I love that.
Say
quote.
that one more time.
We become the adults we needed when we were young. For me,
Yes.
it started with a mentor, and the best mentorship programs are the ones that you don't know that you're in a mentorship program, and it really shaped my life, and I really wanted to give back. So when I started a nonprofit, it was really creating things that I needed when I was 14 years old, and everything else just kind of dominoed after that. I went into many different avenues, but for the most part, it did start with that quote of like, connecting the dots of like, we become the adults we needed when we were young. So
That's awesome. I've seen that quote before too. We become the adults that we needed as children. And I think that that is extremely prevalent today. I mean, mental health awareness is at an all-time high with so many people getting the help that they need, medication that they need that may not have been available a few years ago. So that's amazing. All of you, thank you so much for sharing your stories tonight. Moving on to the questions here. Gracie, you are the first one up.
hot seat.
You've worked with both grassroots collectives and city institutions. What does it really take to make sure artists from underrepresented backgrounds aren't just included, but empowered to lead?
So I believe what it takes to not only include people in the rooms, but also empower them to lead is through collective empowerment and peer networks. So essentially what that is putting together like creative like cohorts, collectives, where we can all share resources, strategy, advocacy, and learn from our shared experiences. And in my case, most recently on a grassroots level, being part of Hue Arts. So Hue is short for Houston Arts. I'm part of the task force, and it covers the greater Houston area. And what it does, it's bringing together all artists of all disciplines, and basically figuring out what's the best way we can put together, galvanize like messages to advocate for the arts when we meet elected officials. And so through that work and workshops, we're narrowing that scope. And so the idea behind that is to eventually create a toolkit for all artists. So if you run into your congressman or if you run into your city council member, that you're able to say, I'm part of this artist community, and this is what we need, you know? And then on an institutional level, I've also been on the government side of things. My recent experience at the Mayor's Office of Cultural Affairs, I drafted an ordinance to create, to establish the Houston Music Advisory Board. And that board is made up of, thank you, which is very needed.
Yes.
Very, very needed, yes. I mean,
Don't be afraid to encourage the celebration of these wonderful honorees here.
Houston music heritage is in our DNA, right? And I would even venture to say that Houston is so instrumental to Texas music, right? I can think of so many artists besides Beyonce, of course, that have influenced Texas music, right?
Yes.
And so it's forming this advisory group to not only advise me in my then role at the mayor's office and future administrations on the needs of not just musicians, but everyone in the music industry. So again, it's not just bringing these people in the room, but it's also empowering them to give their all, really.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Michelle, you work closely with Goldman Sachs supporting small businesses. What does real economic equity look like when those systems weren't built for us in the first place?
Ooh, that's a great question. So I will
Hard-hitting
say
question.
this. I will say this. Here in Houston, there's over two dozen no-cost business education programs. So if you're a small business owner, first thing first, you got to take advantage of that, right? So whether you have an idea and you're like, I want to start a business, I got this idea, there's programs for that. Or if you're like, I'm 5, 10 years in and I want to scale, there's programs for that. So I think when it comes to economic equity, we gotta, especially in Houston, we gotta research and find those resources and take advantage of it, right? Because they are out here. So I think that business education is one. I think the second thing is tapping into organizations, associations like this, finding that community, that you have that balance of professional and social, right? And I mean, part of the reason why I started AMA was, I would go to work, and for some reason, these companies think marketers are unicorns. And then I'll call my friend, and I'm like, am I tripping? Like, am I really supposed to be doing all of this? And, sometimes we need that validation, right? We need a vent and we need that validation. So find that community as well. And just, you got to continuously invest in yourself, right? I do think we got to take advantage of the resources out there, but you also have to invest in yourself so your stock can rise and meet that desired equity that you deserve.
And what advice would you give to anybody right now who is an entrepreneur trying to build or establish a business, a service, a product here in Houston?
If you're trying to establish a business,
in 2025.
Well, there is YouTube University.
Okay, yeah.
No, but seriously, really talk to people, right? So as a marketer, what does market research look
Networking.
like? Like try to talk to people like, okay, do I have that minimal viable product? Is this a good idea? Going back to AMA, once again, 2013, listen, the hurdles have been there. I started a Facebook group. I was trying to vet the process, right? I think that's the first thing. If you want to start a business and you have an idea, do your research, vet the process, talk to people, find your community. And then as a business owner, you got to find the community opposite of you. So I know I'm a marketer, but if I want to work with lawyers, maybe I need to go to attorney events. I need to join an attorney association and run that by people.
That makes
Right.
sense.
So
Thank you, Michelle. Marlon Lisama, you've mentored youth across Houston and beyond. What do young creatives, especially those of color, need most from adults and systems right now?
So, I mean, that's a long answer,
It's a
but
broad question.
just a short answer is community. There's a great man named Father Gregory Broyle, and he created a great nonprofit that worked with a lot of gang members in Los Angeles. And he said, nothing stops a bullet like community. Community, a place where people feel heard, feel empowered. There's nothing special behind anything I've ever created. I created a nonprofit with the easiest formula. I tell people all the time, if you create a space where people feel comfortable to express themselves, to be able to tell their story, you're gonna create some magic. I wish I could tell you guys I'm the best teacher in the world. I'm super dope, but it's really about the students, right? And it's really about meeting them where they're at and making people feel like they're the expert in the room as well. A lot of times the problems with experts in the rooms is we end up speaking to each other. One thing that I learned about our communities, especially students, especially young people, they don't care about your resume. They really don't care about your resume. They look at you up and down, what you wearing. You got Jordans on, that's what's up. You know, if you tell someone, I got a doctorate, they're like, oh, that's cool. What does that mean? Are you cool? Can you listen to me? Can you connect with me? Can we build, can you create rapport? And I think that's it. I think it's about community. It's about creating a space where people feel valued. So yeah.
I like that answer. Thank you. As an acting coach and an actress myself, a lot of what I teach is not just what are the words on the page, but how are you connecting? How are you connecting to the other characters in the script? And how are you connecting to the audience and to the story itself? So I like that, connecting in community. Also, Actors Meetup is tomorrow. It's a community that I have. Mary, this one's for you, my dear. You've built a dance institution rooted in service, not spotlight. One that's touched prisons, shelters, refugee communities, and classrooms. When the cameras are gone and the applause fades, what does real sustainability look like? And how do you keep the impact going when the work is long, the resources are tight, and the mission stays urgent?
Okay.
Long-winded.
lot.
Yeah. Answer what you can.
Okay. Well, let me back up just a moment, if I may. And let me tell you about Imagine, because Imagine the Impossible for every child is not your typical ballet company, not at all. Okay. For those of you that don't know about ballet, ballet began back in Europe with the European art form, and they were thin white people. Ballet doesn't look like that for my children. Not, not the kids that look like me, the brown and black children. No. But they've been told for years and years and years that they cannot do ballet. Well, that's not true. And I'm here to change it. Someone asked me the other day about the Wortham Theater. They can see it out there, but they don't know how to get there. And I told them I can take them there. I can get them there. But it takes a little bit of work. And like he alluded to earlier, the community. So we have to help the dancer to go upright. We can take them to the museum. We can take them to the opera. We can take them to fine dining, but we have to train them up. And part of that training comes in with the ballet because it's the discipline. It's the discipline that transforms their lives. I'm very passionate about this. I've been doing it since I was 12 years of age, and I've seen it. I have dancers that are now in California. They've gone with the London Ballet. They're in New York, Alvin Ailey, Dance Theater of Harlem, because it's the discipline and it's the community. That the community that help these dancers go upright. And so that's what Imagine is about. It's about that child that picks up the chair and throws it at the teacher. And they're angry. And they don't even know why they're so angry. They don't know. They have no clue. They disrupt the classroom, but they come into the ballet world and everything is transformed. Because we teach them that they can do this, and they can travel, and they can do fine dining, and they can travel the world. And that's what Imagine the Impossible is all about.
Yes, that's beautiful. Thank you. I love your passion, Mary. I really do love your passion in that. I hear the chatter is getting a little loud over there, so we've got some really great questions coming up. So if we could just keep the chatter down, that'd be great. Thank you. Love you. Lee, this one is for you. Now, when I think of I do think of the color of my skin. I think of, underprivileged areas. I think of all kinds of different meanings that anybody's POV could come from. But when I personally think of DE&I think women, because it doesn't matter what color you are, women to this day and girls still have it hardest. We're bullied the most, we're silenced the most. And this month being Domestic Abuse Awareness Month, Lee, with the organizations that you have and that you're working with, how do you feel that maybe not necessarily DE&I, but how do you feel that you can get more awareness to bring to the forefront of people creating in nightclubs or bars or, Walmarts? There's signs everywhere, but how do we gain more traction for human trafficking awareness and bringing these missing children home?
Well, we've really concentrated, and I'm fortunate that I work with a company that believes truly to give back to the communities in which we operate. It's not just about selling advertising. It's about what can we do to change the world in which we live. And so we have really concentrated on several areas, human trafficking being one, working with A21 out of Washington, D.C., who is now headquartered in Texas. And when we did a statewide campaign for them, it created a 30% increase in the number of calls going into the hotline for help. That created 1,204 victims being found to be survivors. So we know that putting those messages out on the streets, wherever people are going, does have an effect. And with the advent of digital billboards that we have now, we have so much more flexibility to be able to put those messages out in a timely manner. With our Missing Children's program that we do every year for National Missing Children's Day, we feature a different missing child's case in the 4 cities that Clear Channel operates: Houston, San Antonio, Dallas, and El Paso. We have reunited 17 children with their families from that program alone.
Can we get an applause for that? 17 children you were able to reunite with their parents.
And a lot of it is tied to human trafficking, unfortunately.
I'm
But
sure it is.
but it's rewarding in that we can do that helps move that needle. And currently, we're working with Councilmember Twyla Carter on a campaign for the Texas Council on Family Violence, which we started here in Houston this last year, and it's been running for a year now in the Houston area. And we've had the messages up, and the message is a simple one: I'm okay, are you okay? And it has created a 500% increase in the web hits of that organization. We have had them on 139 billboards throughout the area. Wow. We've created 85 million market impressions in this first year alone.
Wow.
So we have now, I also serve as president of this Outdoor Advertising Association of Texas, and we have now pledged to take that campaign statewide. So those messages are now being broadcast in over 100 Texas cities. We have to show that there is help out there, that victims of domestic violence can go for help. There's plenty of help there, but they got to know where to turn. So these kinds of programs, I'm very proud of, because they've been implemented out of the Houston office, and we've spread them around the country where Clear Channel operates. But we have started most of those projects right here in Houston.
Wow. Wow. And with the World Cup coming to Houston,
Yes.
How do you feel? Because I know that when it comes to human trafficking, missing children, and this vulnerable topic, Super Bowl, Final Four,
Yes,
March Madness, World Cup, all of these big sporting events are a breeding ground for this type of activity. What are some of the precautions that you guys are taking this year that you can help bring awareness to, so that maybe the community can come together to also bring that awareness to life?
We have already pledged campaigns based around that time frame with the Harris County Houston Sports Authority and the World Cup Committee. So we are working right now on that messaging. And I have also set up, We did a project a couple of years ago with Bob's Ranch Hand Rescue. This is a organization out of the Denton area that is dedicated to helping young boys that have been trafficked. People don't think about that, and
Oh,
I
it's
never
very
did until they
big.
contacted me. But it's 50% of the problem. And so I've just recently set the founder of that organization up with the Harris County DA's office and with others in the area. We'll be helping that group as well. It is the only help center in the country for boys. And so we're very proud to be helping that group and try to bring up the awareness of that part of the issue that we've actually put ads up in Times Square for that group.
Wow.
So we have done Atlanta, we've done LA, we've done many other markets for that group to bring the awareness up of that issue because people just don't think about it. So
You know, out of sight, out of mind. Sometimes when you don't know somebody or anything, but I mean, it's almost like 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon. I'm sure that everybody in this room has known somebody to go through domestic violence or have had an experience in the workplace, in the streets, in bars, all of that. It's so prevalent to this day. And the more and more we bring awareness to these things, and it starts with the kids, it starts with your guys' programs that you have going right now.
I would urge everyone to look at A21's website because there are points of interest that you can look for. And human trafficking, Houston is a hub for this activity, unfortunately. So it's all around us and it's in front of us, but we don't see it. And so there are signs that you can look for in your everyday life. So if you go to the A21 website, you can see what all those are and educate yourself.
And what is the website, a21.com? Great. But like I was saying, it starts with the youth programs. When I taught at Amy Beale High School in New Mexico, I taught at-risk youth. And you wouldn't believe how many kids didn't want to go home, didn't want to be in that environment, didn't have a home to go to. And those are the people, those are the children who are targeted the most. They grow up to not know what support looks like or how to receive it or where to go. And I just think that's a very great thing that you're doing. I'm very passionate about that topic, so I won't spend too much time on it, but it is a very big topic for me. Now, Mary, you've brought classical ballet to communities many never expected to see in a tutu. Why is discipline just as critical as access when we talk about equity in the arts? And how do you maintain that?
I got a moment. I'm going to take it to the Fifth Ward, if I may. May I take it to the Fifth Ward? Okay. There was a gentleman with AAF named Larry Kelly. I don't know if Larry's here tonight, but we did a program in the Fifth Ward, and there was another lady that was here also that spoke to me on the way in about the Fifth Ward and that performance. Is she here? No. Okay. No. Okay. Well, oh, she is here. Okay. No. Okay. Well, in any event, what we do is we take classical ballet to inner city children, but it's about changing their lives, and we took it, and we currently taking it into the Fifth Ward, where it changes their academics, it changes their behavior, it changes everything about them. It changes the whole community because it affects their parents. When you're taking a group of kids down to see a classical ballet or to see an opera or to see a symphony, the parents want to join you. And so you have a whole community that's coming together and supporting you. And the results are phenomenal. You can bring classical dancers in from, let's say, California. Okay, you have students and the parents. We have standing ovation and standing room only when we have scouts that come in and dancers that come in to teach these children, to show these children. I'll just briefly, if I may, just share one. We had a dancer of abject poverty. I mean, just outright poverty. He used to sit on a chair. There was nothing. And then now he is a millionaire because of the dance. And so they share their stories with these children that look like me, brown and black children that don't think that they can do that. And it transforms their lives. It actually transformed their lives. So the bottom line through all of this is that we're currently in schools, community centers, churches. And well, just stay there, Mary. Just stay there. It's okay. No, you cannot teach classical ballet on a concrete floor. Okay. You cannot teach classical ballet on a rug or carpeted floor. They don't put the basketball players on a carpeted floor, do they? No, they have the proper equipment. They have their hoops and they have a wood floor. Well, the dancer needs the same thing. And the dancer needs their dance attire. They don't need a lot, but they need the mirrors so they can see themselves. They need high ceilings so they can jump. And so this is why we're here tonight, to ask for your assistance and for your support in helping us get a standalone building so that we don't have to continue with the churches and the community centers where we go and we have class every Friday. Oh, well, you can't have it this Friday, Mary, because we have another event. Or we're canceling the class this week, Mary. I've got 25 kids here ready to take class, but the class is canceled with no notice. We can't continue like that. We just can't. We need our own building. They need their own building. And thank you so very much. My name is Mary Johnson, and I support this message.
I support it too. Thank you, Mary. That's great. And you're absolutely right. In order to have, an artistic classroom setting, you need the proper tools and you need the proper environment for that. And thank you for having these programs. Gracie, you connect artists, governments, and communities across languages and lived experiences. What's your secret to building authentic trust across cultural lines?
So the secret to building trust across all the cultural lines, well, there isn't any shortcuts. And it's really just through earned consistency and care, really. For me, it just starts with listening and reading the room, and that's really something innate in us DJs, right? So when I walk in a room, whether it's a green room, a boardroom, or a government office, I show up with integrity and I'm ready to listen. And I'm not there to check boxes or just do what's expected. I believe in meeting people where they are, either literally, emotionally, or and with cultural fluency. Sometimes it means translating in English and Spanglish. Sometimes it means understanding art and policy. And sometimes it just means just showing up. So you start building trust through understanding, communication, and engagement with people from different backgrounds and experiences.
I love that. Does anybody else want to add to that? How you choose to build these communities, building trust across cultural lines?
I just want to echo the listening part.
Yeah.
Like understanding that sometimes we're the visitors, allowing people to speak and be the experts of their own spaces. So
Yeah. Giving these children or anybody in general, it doesn't matter what age, when somebody has the space to think creatively and it's a safe space, miracles can happen. I've seen it myself. I've been it myself. Michelle, this one's for you. A lot of brands still perform inclusion without doing the internal work. What advice would you give to any company trying to be real, not just relevant? Am I giving you all the hard ones?
So when it comes to diversity, equity, and inclusion or inclusive marketing, I actually feel like that starts internally, right? So think about the makeup of your employees, right? Think about your makeup. I'm biased, I'm a marketer. Think about the makeup of your marketing and advertising department. And is that going to reflect the campaign or maybe the agency you need to hire, and then of course the campaign, right? So in 2018, when I started revving up for AMA, at that time, there was a series of bad advertising, right? So we had H&M. They had the black boy with the green hoodie, the monkey on the hoodie. There was Backlash. There was Dove. The commercial started off with a darker black woman. And then every time she took her shirt off, the person got lighter and lighter. And then it was like Dove body wash, right? So you're telling me I'm dirty. If I use your body wash, I'm, you know. So my thing, like, who's in the room, right? So who's in the room? Who's approving these messages? Who's saying this is a good idea? What is the chain of a command? So I think we really have to reflect, like, okay, what does my organization look like? What does my marketing team look like? And do I have the right team to create and present this campaign that is going to reflect the diverse audience that we want, right? Because we know money's green.
Yeah.
We know money's green, right? And we know the money, technically the money doesn't discriminate, but the people do. And we just saw that a couple of weeks ago with Jimmy Kimmel, right? So I think companies just have to be mindful on what they're creating, how they're doing it, because people today, we are more vocal than ever, courtesy of all of these social media platforms.
Yeah. Thank you so much for that. I think that that still rings true to today. I mean, we witnessed it with the Sydney Sweeney campaign, right? At first, I didn't really understand it, but then when I really started looking into it, and it was just like, oh,
But
yeah,
the Gap,
who was in that room making that decision?
the Gap had a great clapback though.
Yes, they did. That was a great campaign. Marlon, you've been part of cultural diplomacy work across 60 plus countries. What's the line between cultural exchange and cultural extraction? And how do you protect authenticity?
I wanna start by saying that I'm an immigrant to this country. I came to Houston when I was 9 years old.
Wow. Where'd you come from?
My mom is from El Salvador, and I always tell people my mom's from El Salvador, and I came to Texas to become a Mexican. Um, and you know, that community like really gave me so much love and acceptance. But uh, before 60 countries, I started in a little neighborhood in the East End. I lived in a neighborhood that the railroad tracks were the borders. You know what I mean? You don't cross those railroad tracks. You never leave your neighborhood. You know, and I always tell people the hardest thing I've ever done is leave my neighborhood. You know, sometimes struggle becomes a comfort. It becomes a blanket. You know, yeah, I'm struggling, but I know what tomorrow's gonna look like. The hardest thing I've ever done is leave my neighborhood. Um, I got together with some other kids from other at-risk neighborhoods in Houston, Texas, and we started this thing called breakdancing.
What?
When I, when I was 12 years old, I started breaking, and hip hop was the first thing that automatically accepted me. It didn't care about my stutter, it didn't care about my clothes, it didn't care about my single mom raising us on dreams and stories and working 3 jobs to pay rent. And it was the one thing that really just listened and supported me. And what we did was we started breaking and we got really good. Like really, really, like you don't even know. I'm fresh. You guys don't even know.
Can you give us an example?
Wow, I brought the wrong suit. I was gonna bring my Adidas suit. My wife was like, no, you can't. But we started traveling, competing, and we got invited to Paris for the first time, and we did really good there. And then we went through all Europe and then Asia. And then one day we got a phone call, and it was the government, and I'm like, oh snap, my taxes. And they were like, hey, listen, we have this program in Turkmenistan. You know, we want to invite you guys. We want you guys to go. And I'm like, I can't even spell that. Like, first of all. Second of all, like, man, I don't think that's the right thing for us. They were like, well, we have $15,000. I'm like, hell yeah, we'll go. Start with the money part next time. But I asked them what do they wanted us to do. And they were like, hey, we want you guys to go and spread American culture. And one of the things about American culture, especially like hip hop culture, it's about expression. It's about the elements. It's about honesty and integrity and the power of our stories. And I'm like, we can't do it any other way. So if you give us that freedom to do it in that way, um, collectively, we have seen over 90 countries
Wow.
with hip hop and the American Embassy. We're hip hop diplomats. A lot of us did a lot of great work with the Olympics, which breaking was in the Olympics this past Olympics. And it's so crazy that something as little as breaking, as dancing, as movement, as something born in places that are supposed to be ignored, can create such great opportunities. You know, Kendrick Lamar won the Pulitzer Prize, for literature. Our stories are worth listening to, and hip hop has been the one thing that has really opened up the doors to the world for me. I gave a lecture at Cambridge University over hip hop, and the power of hip hop, and I really think it's when you're organic and do things with integrity, and just do it full hearted. Like I think you can't fail. So yeah. So
I always say, whatever happens, thank you. Speaking of integrity, whatever happens after the truth is what is meant to be, right? So if you're just living in your truth, whether it's dancing, music, media, entertainment, building up communities that represent us, the truth will speak for itself. But how would you say your cultural ties and the show that you're performing in coincide to help bring that American cultural awareness? Tell me about the show. My Posse's on Broadway. I mean, that's a hip hop song, a popular one that I'm sure a lot of people know. How does that connect?
so the show was created by my brother Chris Thomas, man, and this guy is just an amazing artist. I helped him write it, and it's basically Houston hip hop history. The great thing about hip hop, it looks so different in many different parts of the world, and Houston has its own flavors. We're from the home of Draped Up and Dripped Out. Thank you, one person. Thank you, one person. No, but it's these stories are they have to be told, and one of the things that we have demanded, it used to be asking permission to be in these spaces, now is demanding to be in these spaces. We perform in amazing, beautiful theaters from the Wortham, and it's going to be at the Hobby Center, and we demand to be in these spaces, and we demand to be seen just like jazz, ballet, and tap. That's where we want to take hip hop to, because that is the level that is at. So yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Mr. Lee, you've led public messaging for school systems and government agencies. How do you embed DEI into structures that were never originally built to include everyone?
It's interesting when Mary said these children can see the theater or wherever. When I was at HISD, I put together an ad hoc group for Yates High School, which was the School of Communications. And that was people who came from all forms of communications, marketing, advertising, and so forth, journalism. And the photojournalism teacher, who happened to be my photographer when I worked at the Port Authority, was an incredible teacher. And he told me this. He said, these kids can see downtown, but they don't know how to get there. And I will tell you that we have to all open up our hearts to mentor young folks to not only, and wonderful work that you guys are doing in dance and so forth, but it's up to all of us to mentor these young people who are not exposed to particularly this industry. I did a project with one of the council members not long ago that brought in middle school children from the Northeast side. And we talked about what communications was, advertising, marketing, journalism. Totally did not know what it was. They did not know what journalism was. So
Oh.
there's so much that needs to be done because there's so much potential in our minority children that can be found if they have the guiding hand through dance, through mentoring, to volunteering at your school in your area, to go speak to a class, anything that we can do to encourage these kids to get the training, get the education to be successful in this industry or any industry that they want to go into. It's up to them, but they have to have a path. And so I'm sorry if I digress from the question,
No, please do.
but I think this is so important for us to talk about as an industry. And I will tell you, when I served as president of the PRSA chapter here, we made a concerted effort to bring in more students from the universities of color and of a diverse background to mentor them and get them acclimated to the public relations field in the same way with advertising and the same way with marketing. But we have to make that effort. We have to go out and do it. We have to be proactive. We can't sit back and think somebody's going to do it because it's not.
Yeah, being proactive as opposed to reactive, because at that
Exactly.
point you're
Exactly.
covering your tail and trying to figure out where to go next. But if we're
Right.
proactive,
Because these kids are lost.
yeah,
They can be lost.
yeah,
So anyway, but I think that we have come so far in the diversity and inclusion in this society. I grew up in the 50s and the 60s, and it was a whole different world, I will tell you, in that world that I grew up in. And we were the only Hispanic family in the small town we were in, and they didn't know what we were, and we faced some pretty harsh words over the years of grammar school and high school and so forth. But it in my case, it made me stronger because I was there to say, I can do this. I can make it in this. If you can do anything you want to if you want it bad enough.
Yes.
But you have to have someone that tells you that you can do it. You can give them the confidence to move forward. So I think we've moved so much more. We've moved light years ahead from where we used to be. We have work to do still, but we are on the path. I know in our firm we have a very diverse employee base, and I serve on the diversity committee for the company, and so we do a quarterly presentation on women in business or African American in business, whatever. We take different aspects of the whole area, and so we're Clear Channel is very committed to doing that. We have a whole department for that, and I serve as the Houston liaison for that. So I'm very proud that we were able to move the needle a bit more internally and externally.
yeah. Thank you for sharing. I understand. I may not have lived through it, but the stories that I've heard through my own ancestral lineage, being, my one side of the family is from New Mexico, the other is from the border of Texas. And the reason why, not the reason why I don't know Spanish, but because I could learn it, but I wasn't taught it growing up.
Same thing. My
And-
parents wouldn't teach us.
Yeah, and it was because they wanted you to blend in as an American, and a lot of people don't understand that. And they'll look at me and say, "Oh, you're a shameful Mexican because you don't know Spanish." And it's like, dude, my family was just trying to protect me. What they thought looked like protection, because even in my hometown, in the 80s when my dad was growing up, they got rocks thrown at them,
But
called names.
it was even a little bit more than that because my older brothers and sisters, I'm the last of six. So I
Wow.
had a brother and sisters my sister was 17 years older than me.
Oh
When
wow.
they went to school in the 40s and so forth, they spoke Spanish, and the teacher would rap them over their knuckles with a ruler and said, "You
Mhm.
can't do that." So consequently, when the last three came, my parents said, and we came, I went to them and said, I want to learn. And no,
Yeah.
we don't want you to learn.
Thank you.
And that's a horrible thing because it's a loss of culture.
It truly is.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that as well. Michelle, as the founder of AAMA, what are the biggest myths you still hear about representation in marketing? And how do we stop treating diversity like a seasonal campaign?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So the biggest myths, I'm gonna take a little personal approach on this one. So I think for the association, I think lots of times companies are puzzled on why ALMA exists. And I'm like, regardless of race or ethnicity, we're still a professional development organization. Like, we still need to learn, we still need sponsorship dollars, and we need, other things to make sure this engine is running. I think another thing is folks have to look beyond, um, I guess, social justice or racial equity, and those things are important, and we're still fighting for those certain aspects of civil rights. But obviously, for me as a business professional, like there's still need, right? So every Black organization isn't focused on race, but there's still need in other areas, whether it's the arts or anything else. So I think just people being learning to be open-minded on the various communities and nonprofits and organizations that are here to build, in this case, the African American community. And then what was the second part of the question?
I put it down. I think the other part of the question was, how do we make it relevant and not just a seasonal campaign?
Yes, thank you. So how do we make it relevant? Listen, diversity, DEI is 365, right? Diversity is not a Black issue, it's a human issue. All races, ethnicity, religion, people with disabilities, like there's a month, there's a day, there's a week to celebrate. And I think, once again, organizations need to look internally and be like, okay, what is the makeup of this company I created, this department that I run? How can I celebrate these people, my employees, my team internally, magnify that externally, social media, stories? Like, y'all just shared a story. Like, it's very interesting to me, disheartening, but like, we need to hear more of those stories, right? We still got Asian communities that we need to hear from, right? So how can you magnify the stories of your employees to the world, right? Through social media platforms. And I think that's the best way. Like, diversity is not a Black thing. It's an everybody thing.
100%. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Gracie, I'm going to start with you. But this is going to be the last question of the panel, and I would like everyone to chime into this question. Are you ready? Okay. If you could leave this room with just one truth about what it means to lead with legacy, rise with resilience, speak with purpose, and build real community, what would it be? And what do you wish you'd known when you had started? This goes for everyone, so think about your question now, or your answer now. Just kidding.
I guess what I wish that I would have known before I had started was that if you ask, there is a supportive community. Especially, I'm first generation, firstborn, and unlike, maybe Lee's experience, my parents getting here, they needed my support to help translate. And so I would like to say that, probably didn't get as much of a childhood as I probably would have wanted. But what I did gain is the ability to connect with people, understand like more complex, mature issues, and not being afraid to ask. But, sometimes resources aren't there, opportunities aren't there, and you're sometimes aren't encouraged to ask. So I think if anything, I probably would have started by asking more. Even if I got a no, it's an answer and I can continue asking. So
Yes, yes, thank you. Ask, research. There's so many different outlets. Our community, the Actors Meetup community, we have people from all kinds of different backgrounds, and it's a beautiful community. Mary, would you like to touch on this subject as well? Would you like for me to repeat the question? Yes. If you could lead this room with just one truth about what it means to lead with legacy, rise with resilience, speak with purpose, and build real community, what would it be? And what do you wish you'd known when you started?
Ask.
that's a long question.
I know.
Who wrote these?
Well, I begin with the Bible. The Bible says, ask and you shall receive.
There
Amen.
you go. Asking.
So had I asked earlier, I probably wouldn't be here today, but we would have a performing arts center. So the objective is to continue to ask, and I will get a performing arts center where these kids can learn classical ballet, classical music, classical art, and they can soar. And we can bring scouts in from all over the world to take these kids, and they can go to the London Ballet and be a ballet dancer, a male ballet dancer, or a ballerina, or take them to ABT, the American Ballet Theater, or send them to New York, or why not Alvinelli? That's my objective,
Why
to
not?
send them on. Thank you again.
Thank you, Mary. Michelle, Lee, Marlon, would you also like to add on to the question?
Sure. Uh, First of all, I want to touch on that word resilient. I, I, I went to a school to give a talk, and one of the principals introduced me to a student who did amazing in a test. And what was amazing about the student is his father got deported the day before, and he scored so high on his test. And the principal used the word resilient to describe him. That's not resilience. That's trauma. That's trauma. That's this kid doing what he has to. I think right now, words like diversity, equity, I mean, we have to be honest with each other. My heroes are non-apologetic artists. I love to read because of James Baldwin. I love to read because of Sandra Cisneros, Miguel Piñero. I love art because of Frida Kahlo. I am an immigrant. I'm not gonna hide it. I'm not gonna hide my accent and my Spanglish because of the environment. And sometimes the idea of let's survive this time does more damage, just like a bad mentor does a disservice to a mentee. And so I think understanding the time that we are in, understanding what's in front of us, understanding the fight, understanding our role in the fight, I think is just as important. And accolades are they're great, and speaking to the choir is great, but I think sometimes getting in these spaces and making people uncomfortable sometimes is the most important thing that you can do, especially as an educator, especially someone in the academics, especially as an artist. So, and my wife told me to behave tonight, so that's how I'm leaving it. So.
That sounded like spoken word. You're so rhythmic when you speak and so passionate. All of you have been so passionate about everything tonight. Michelle, Lee, would you like to also?
Well, I would
add?
say that the whole idea of ask, there's so many more things that you can ask for now than there used to be. So there's so much help out there, but kids have to know where it is. And we all can make a difference. I think if there's anything that we come away here tonight is that everybody says, well, I'm just one person, what can I do? But you can make a difference. You can volunteer. You can do big brothers, big sisters, mentor kids, whatever you want to do. But you personally can make a difference in this world. And you can certainly make a difference in diversity, in bringing together minority children and minority people together. We all have to have that understanding, and we all can make a difference there.
Yes, thank you.
So for me, AMA is powered by God, right? Like, this is my ministry. This organization is my ministry. This is my purpose, and my vision is big. My God is grand. I think it takes a crazy amount of delusion to build something from scratch, and I'm here to pursue that greatness.
Yes, yes. Stay delusional. Well, thank you, all of you, for joining us tonight and speaking from the heart, speaking your truth, and connecting with somebody in the audience this evening. I really do appreciate all of you.